spine of the world stands like the ribs of some ancient, long-dead beast, its peaks gnawing at a sky cast forever in the dim hues of twilight. The sun, distant and weary, no longer fights to rise, smothered beneath thick, unbroken clouds. And below, where the wind howls through valleys buried in ice, where the lakes have turned to mirrors of frozen black glass, there is no warmth, only the endless grasp of winter's fury. This is the dominion of Auril, the Frostmaiden. She is no mere goddess of winter, no gentle keeper of snowfall and fleeting chill. She is the storm, she is the whisper of the wind that slithers through the cracks of doors, stealing warmth from the hearth. She is the silence of a frozen lake, where beneath the ice, something stirs. She is the predator lurking in the cold, waiting, watching, relentless. Here in Icewind Dale, the people of 10 towns huddle in their homes, their meager fires flickering like fragile memories of warmth long forgotten. They do not pray for spring has been stolen from them. Instead, they barter with the darkness. They leave offerings upon the ice, grain, warmth, and, when the goddess is most cruel, their own kin. A sacrifice to stay her wrath, to hold back the everlasting Rime for just one more day. But Auril does not bargain. She does not listen. She does not relent. The everlasting Rime is her gift and her curse, an unbroken cycle of suffering and silence. A world where the weak are culled and the strong are shaped in ice. And yet, there are those who whisper that this winter is different, that this time the cold will never lift, that the Frostmaiden has claimed this land not as a fleeting torment, but as her own eternal kingdom. What does she seek? What hunger drives her? Is she a jealous queen, hoarding the light for herself? A being of endless spite, reveling in the slow death of those who defy her? Or is she something far worse, something ancient, something patient, something that knows the final fate of all things is to wither, to freeze, and to be forgotten beneath the snow? The wind screams through the mountains, and the ice creeps ever closer. The time of Auril has come. Rime of the Frostmaiden, year of 3 ships sailing, 1492 DR, from the Speaker of East Haven. North of the spine of the world, and west of the towering Reged Glacier, is a frigid expanse few dare to explore, let alone inhabit. This icy land of windswept tundra recently became locked in a perpetual dark winter without reprieve. Auril the Frostmaiden, the vile embodiment of winter's fury, has withdrawn to this cold corner of the world. Each night before midnight, Auril has taken to the sky on the back of a white rock and weaves her spell, a manifestation of a shimmering curtain of light, a beautiful aurora that illuminates the night sky and fades before dawn. This has trapped Icewind Dale in a perpetual freeze, a reflection of her design. Auril, also known as Ice Dawn, the cold goddess, and Lady Frostkiss, is most powerful in those regions that are affected by deep winters or crouch at the edges of the Great Glacier. She is worshipped primarily out of fear. She has served Talos and is one of the gods of fury, and much of her ethos is similar to that of the god of nature's destruction. She has seen much of her personal power eroded by Talos, and as a result, the winters have grown colder in the past decade to remind the Northerners who still controls the power of cold. While she can call on the other gods of fury for aid, she only does so with Umberlee, with any confidence. Talos usually responds, but then directs all his glory and worship to himself. And Malar despises her. When portrayed, Auril appears similar to her Frostmaiden avatar. She is a fickle, vain, and evil creature whose cold divine heart remains untouched by any hint of true love, noble feeling, or honor. She often toys with those who offend her, trap them in snowstorms, and then driving them insane by tantalizing them with visions of warmth and the comforts of home before she freezes them to death. Her eternal beauty is cold and deadly, the flower of womanhood preserved forever in a slab of Arctic ice, with sensibilities to match the ice. Auril appears most often in one of two avatar forms, the Frostmaiden or Ice Dawn. The Frostmaiden is a lithe, furious figure of action and is the most often seen avatar of Auril in all regions of Faerun except the south and east. Her skin is blue, her hair is long, free-flowing and white, and a fine gown of white lawn thickly furred with frost swirls about her. She also manifests as icy breath accompanied by a cold, ruthless chuckling and blue-white radiance that leaves a thin line of frost to mark its passage. She also appears as a blank-eyed face of frost with long, wind-whipped white hair that radiates intense cold. Auril uses this latter manifestation if she wants to speak, slay, or confer items of power upon worshippers. She slays with her life-chilling kiss and confers boons by breathing them out of the face's mouth. Auril is feared and worshipped in order to hold off the depredations of the harsh winters with which she threatens Faerun. Trappers, miners, and settlers in the north, some barbarians and inhabitants of the Great Glacier, and residents of the lands crouching at any glacier's edge, revere her and honor her in attempts to placate her cold fury come wintertime. In recent years, winters have been long and colder, especially with her introduction of the everlasting Rime. Priestesses of Auril roam the lands of Faerun, especially in the north, though her clergy is often seen in the heartlands now as well. Auril charges her clergy to cover all lands with ice and to quench fire wherever it is found. Let the winds and the cold cut down windbreaks and chop holes in walls and roofs so that my breath may come in. Work darknesses to hide the cursed sun, so that the chill I bring may slay. Take the life of an Arctic creature only in great need, but slay all others at will. Make all Faerun fear me. Auril's clergy are commanded to revere her and sing her praises into any chill breeze or winter wind. They are to make all creatures fear or worship her, and to bring down her cold power against all, so that all may know her and quake before her. They are not to raise their hands against any other priest of Auril. The great hall of Caer Dineval is dimly lit, torches flickering in the bitter cold. Cranach Siva, draped in thick furs, stands atop a makeshift platform, his voice booming as he gestures wildly to the gathered townsfolk. His breath fogs in the freezing air, but his eyes burn with conviction. Ha! You cower before the cold like children before the dark. I see the fear in your eyes, the gnawing hunger in your bellies. But I tell you now, we must embrace our suffering. We must give to her, the Frostmaiden, if we wish to see the dawn again. He spreads his arms wide, pacing the stage, his heavy boots thudding against the wooden planks. Has she not shown her might? Has she not proven her wrath? I tell you, this is not the first time Auril has frozen the weak and laid waste to those who defy her. In the year of Holy Thunder, when fire and storm clashed in Kalimshan, it was Auril who descended upon the Skyfire wastes, encasing them in ice. Genies and Afriti, creatures of pure flame, shattered beneath her frozen winds. Who are we to think we fare better? He pauses, letting his words settle, his gaze piercing as it sweeps over the uneasy crowd. And when the Dwarf Kings waged their war in the year of the Iron Dwarf's vengeance Auril's chosen, Hedron Arnsfirth rose to claim Icewind Dale as her own. War came, and blood soaked the snow, yet it was her power that remained. The strong perished, the weak were consumed, and still her frost crept ever forward. And now, she has turned her eye to us. He clenches his fist, his voice rising in fervor. You think the gods care for us? You think the sea witch Umberlee will shield us? Bah! She once walked with Auril, but when the Frostmaiden's power grew too great, When her ice dared to touch the sea itself, the cowardly bitch turned against her. But did Auril beg for mercy? Did she yield? No, she fought them all, Umberlee, Talos, Malar, until even they trembled before her. Yes, they forced her north, banished her to the sea of moving ice, but she did not slumber. Oh no, my friends. From that frozen wasteland, from solstice, she cast her will upon the land. The everlasting Rime came not by accident, not by whim, but by her decree. She chose us to suffer. He slams his fist against a wooden post, sending a shudder through the chamber. The townsfolk shrink back, some clutching their thin cloaks tighter around themselves. And so I ask you, will you defy her? Will you clutch your meager stores of food, praying they last through the storm, while she watches and waits? Will you shake your fists at the sky and curse her name like fools who wish to be buried in the snow? He lets the silence hang, the only sound the howling wind outside. No! We must appease her, show our devotion, give what we have, our food, our warmth, our sacrifices, whatever it takes. Only then, may she look upon us with favor. Will you starve in defiance, or will you offer, tribute, and live? Beyond the ken of most mortals exists an otherworldly dominion of fantastic terrain dominated by untamed wilderness. This realm in the Astral Sea is where one of Auril's realms lies. From the outside, it might seem that that land under eternal ice is similar to any polar region of the mortal world. No colder place exists among the astral dominions. Even the sky of the Frostfell is strange and beautiful, since it appears to be caught forever in the throes of a spectacular sunset, swathing the land in perpetual twilight. Auril's dusky realm is an enigma floating in the Astral Sea. It is a land where raw, intangible belief meets raw, immutable reality. Like a severe winter storm, Auril's winter hall moves slowly across the deep wilds, bringing strong winds and heavy blowing snow wherever it passes. Built of wind and ice, the structure seems as if it were carved from a massive iceberg, flipped on its end, and thrust hundreds of leagues into the sky. The palace is nearly 5,000 feet in diameter at its base, and an equal number of feet high at its summit, with a labyrinthine maze of corridors, halls, and passages inside it. With nearly 20,000 damned spirits and immortal servitors dwelling within it at any given time, Winter Hall is easily the size of a small city. Jarl Stovald's boots thud heavily against the frozen stone floor of Aurelsburg, his deep voice cutting through the howling winds that echo through the icy hall. "You listen to me now," Stovald growls, his words like the cracking of ice beneath heavy feet. "We've been at war for years. The wind's biting harder than ever, and the snow's thicker, colder. The raids ain't easy. Food's scarce. We've had to work harder than we ever have to take what's ours. And you know what? That damn Frostmaiden's the cause of it. This whole Rime, this never-ending winter, it's her doing." He steps forward, fists clenched, his voice low and rumbling like thunder over the mountains. "We found a wizard, a fool, a weakling, barely holding his own against me and my crew. He thought he could stop us, hide behind his spells, but he couldn't. We took him down, broke him like a twig in the snow, and when he begged for mercy, he told us things about her." Stovald spits to the side, his eyes glowing with anger, and something darker, something more dangerous. "Auril, the Frostmaiden. She's the one pulling the strings, you hear me? She's the one who cursed us all with this endless, frozen nightmare. Her realm is in Pandemonium. She hides herself up there, laughing from her cold throne in Winter's Hall. But that was before. When the spell plague came, she went hiding like a scared pup. Now she's back, stuck in the deep wilds in the Astral Dominion. You think that matters to me? I don't care where she hides, we'll find her. will make her wish she never turned her eye to this land. The frost giants murmur, their breath misting in the cold air, the weight of Stovald's words hitting them like a strike from a massive hammer. He glares at them, his eyes cold as glaciers. And her followers? Don't make me laugh. They're weak, desperate fools crawling to her for mercy. You think the men and women in Mulmaster, Zentil Keep, those soft, starving wretches, they're anything but prey to her. They beg for her blessing, for her cold hand to save them. They don't know the truth. Auril doesn't save them. She uses them. She takes them in when they've got nowhere else to go and leaves them frozen in her wake. She plays them like puppets, pulling their strings until they're frozen solid. He snarls, the fire in his chest rising. But what about us? Stovald thunders, his voice growing louder, his form towering above the others. What about us, the ones who serve her? The frost giants, the wolves, the viragos? She uses us like tools, like dogs to do her bidding. But I don't bow to anyone. Not her. Not her cold hand. We serve no one. We are the storm. We are the cold. He slams his fist into the stone floor, sending a crack through the frozen ground. The giants around him stiffen, their eyes wide with the raw power and fury in Stovald's voice. And those avatars of hers, those ugly things, don't scare me. The Ice Dawn, that thing in the sky floating around like it's better than everyone else? She thinks she's above us, huh? Well, she'll learn. All of them will learn. Cold Crone, Lady Icekiss, Winter's Womb. They think they're powerful, that they're untouchable. They're not. Stovald bares his teeth, growling. Cold Crone's a twisted mess, the bastard child of a damn owl and a ram's head. Lady Icekiss, a walking block of ice, thinking she's some sort of queen. They're just ice and frost, brittle as hell. We'll crush 'em under our boots. As for Winter's Womb, a damn diamond. Diamond. It can break just like any other stone. The giants around him growl in agreement, the room shaking with their approval. Stovald steps forward, his breath fogging in the cold air. Auril, she doesn't care about us. She doesn't care about any of us. She doesn't care about the followers she tricks or the giants she uses. She only cares about herself. She wants to freeze the world, make everything cold, just so she can sit on her frozen throne and watch it all die. Well, I say we're done bowing to her. We're done being her tools. He slams his fist into his chest, the sound like thunder. We'll break her. We'll bring down her icy throne. We'll burn her cold realm to the ground. And when we do, we'll take our place. We will be the rulers of winter. And the world will freeze. On our terms. Auril's clergy seek to make all folk fear their goddess, and her clergy will use the fury of the winter weather to cut down on the attacks they face. They also try to make themselves personally wealthy and influential by carrying out tasks that others cannot in the worst winter weather, and by magically protecting those who pay or obey from the worst winter conditions. Clergy members make offerings to the goddess of some of the wealth they amass by scattering it in falling snow during a storm, or throwing it through cracks in river ice or glacial crevasses during winter. In the cold months, Auril expects each of her priests to force or persuade someone to pray to her in the approved manner by beseeching Auril for mercy and praising her for the cold cleansing she brings. This prayer must last for the length of time it takes a piece of ice larger than the supplicant's hand to melt against his or her bared flesh. It must be done outdoors and preferably at night. During the winter, Aurelian clergy are also expected to slay at least one creature by cold. Auril's holy days are few, but the midwinter night is the most holy time of the year to the clergy of Auril. It is a festival of ice dancing that lasts the whole night through. during which the goddess desires her clergy both to enjoy themselves and to lure as many folk as possible into her service. Postulants are instructed in the ways of the goddess and must undergo the most sacred ritual of Auril to gain admittance into her clergy, known as the embracing. This personal ritual may occur at any time of the year, but if it is in summer, the postulant must journey to Arctic or high mountain regions in order to find a blizzard. The embracing consists of running through a blizzard all night long, dressed in only boots, a thin shift, and body paint depicting symbols sacred to Auril. Celebrants either perish of exposure or are accepted by the goddess by being rescued from the pain and shivering by her embrace. Thereafter, clergy members usually pray in private by lying out in the snow all night long in prayer vigil. In summer, her clergy usually immerse themselves in the coldest water they can find, typically by lying down in a fast-flowing stream. The house of Auril's breath in Glister, north of the Moon Sea, is the largest and most influential temple to the cold goddess, boasting a congregation of over 1,600 gathering around the fires for nightly fire and ice rituals. Auril's church has no affiliated military or knightly orders. She is just not of a mind to sponsor prolonged martial actions. She would rather send a blizzard down on those who offend her than troops. An odd assortment of cults and fellowships have grown up around or become attached to her worship, though. These groups include the Cult of Frost, whose driving goal is the acquisition of the artifact known as the Ring of Winter, a group of wizards known as the Frost Witches, and most recently, the Arcane Brotherhood. As we stand on the edge of her domain, where the frost never melts and the winds howl with the fury of 1,000 storms, Auril, the Frostmaiden, leaves us with a bitter truth. Winter is an eternal force. She is the embodiment of winter's cruelest and most unforgiving aspects, the goddess of cold, a being as beautiful and deadly as the rime that coats the land she rules. Beneath her shimmering surface lies a heart as cold as the glaciers she commands, a reminder that in this world, kindness is often buried beneath layers of ice. The 10 towns, scattered like fragile jewels across the frozen landscape of Icewind Dale, are locked in an endless struggle against her grasp. For generations, they have battled against the harsh winds and deadly winters, unable to escape her frozen rain. Auril's influence has left its mark on every frostbitten corner of this land. Her presence is felt not just in the chill of the air, but in the very marrow of those who call this place home. In every creaking of the ice, every snowfall that blankets the land, she reminds them of their insignificance in the face of such relentless power. Her followers, few in number but deeply devoted, understand that Auril does not offer protection or mercy. They embrace the cold as a test of endurance and strength, knowing that in her frozen realm, survival is never guaranteed. The Ulutians, the most devout of her worshippers, have long bowed to her as Selkiruk, the cold, indifferent goddess who teaches them that the world is neither kind nor forgiving. In their worship, they do not seek warmth or solace, but strength to endure, to survive, and to accept the inevitable cruelty of the world around them. But perhaps in the heart of her frost lies a deeper lesson that is easy to overlook, a lesson about resilience in the face of impossible odds. Auril's grip is unyielding, her rime everlasting, yet the people of Icewind Dale continue to endure. They struggle, they fight, and they survive, not because they are favored by the gods, but because they must. The cold teaches them to be strong, to push forward when the world seems to offer no hope, and to accept that life is fragile and fleeting, often shaped by forces beyond their control.